okay, if I can look at no nation building, and if no, if I can serve the nation in a different way. And one of the main important ways that I realize is okay, as we think we have more startups coming in, more corporates coming in,
Yeah.
definitely there's a need, okay, of having good no guidance to them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then how best can we as people serve and give that guidance through our experience that we have gathered so far.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, the podcast where we bring you closer to the visionaries and change makers driving transformation across industries. I'm your host, Tanay All, and today we are joined by a distinguished professional with over 2 decades of experience in finance, business transformation, and strategy. Today's guest is a leader who has navigated some of the most complex and high stake business environments, playing a key role in shaping the financial strategies and operations of renowned global organizations. From spearheading global business transformation initiatives to driving profitability and efficiency, his work continues to leave a lasting impact. Join us as we delve into the journey of Mr. Ganesh Laxmikant Shah, a seasoned leader whose expertise in financial planning, transformation, and governance is nothing short of inspiring. We'll uncover the lessons he's learned, the challenges he's overcome, and his vision for the future of business leadership. Stay tuned, and it's going to be an insightful conversation. We welcome you on the show, sir.
Thanks, thank you, Tanay, for such a kind words and such a good introduction. I would say, in short, okay, definitely, every one of us in the professional careers we have done and gone through different challenges and different work. But as long as it's satisfying, it's really something which we look forward for, right? So thanks for all those kind words, and I look forward to interacting with you over the next few minutes.
Same here, sir. So, looking back at your remarkable 23-year-old career, it's clear that you've seen and experienced a lot. From your early days to leading transformative initiatives in global organizations, it must have been quite the journey. Could you share with us some of the key moments or turning points that truly shaped your career? We'd love to hear about the experiences that had the biggest impact on your professional journey.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe there are maybe that could be many, but I would like to just share you some initial things, okay, which happened, and then that really shaped my career, or maybe I would say the career path that I chose overall. Right. So if you look at as any financial professional, I started my career in a with a typical kind of a profile, which generally would be around accounting, core accounting, and then no traditional accounting work, right? So while I continued to do that for a couple of years, and then slowly I started getting realizing myself that maybe I'm not it becomes first of all monotonous, and then maybe I'm not able to contribute. Exactly. I could not see if I'm able to contribute to the growth of the business. Right. So that's where I started thinking, okay, what is that? I need to do something differently. And no, fortunately, I could get a role which was quite different than what I had done in my previous experiences. Okay. And that was primarily into commercial finance, which I had never done in my earlier careers. So I was fortunate rather to know work in global US MNCs where I could get this and I was selected for it. So that commercial finance experience somehow changed my perspective in terms of okay, what value add a finance professional can really do to an organization, to its business, to its people. Right. So that was, I would say, a turning point for me to choose the right career path because that's when I realized my passion, towards staying close to the business. Okay. How can I contribute? What because I generally would love to look at okay, whatever we do as finance professionals. Many times it is thankless job that generally no organizations consider because it's more of no, we are not front ending to the customers. We are not front ending in the markets overall. The traditional finance used to be that days in that fashion. But I was the one who wanted to understand how is my work impacting the business ultimate growth. Okay, how is my work contributing to the cash, people, profitability? So that passion is something which I realize, and that's what I know how I chose my careers going forward. So that's I would say is one of the turning points on how did I grow over the period.
True, sir. I mean, realizing that is very important.
Yeah.
So, leading commercial finance as business finance leader for both B2B and B2C businesses is quite interesting and challenging. It
Yeah.
must have been like exciting as well as demanding journey in driving business performance and is no small feat. So when you reflect on those early days, what were some of the toughest challenges you encountered and how did you find the strength to navigate through them?
Yeah, of course. I would say, as I said, commercial finance and maybe things just like front end in the finance. Because in finance, if you look at that two things, one is the back end finance, it's core accounting, controllership, and no, all that work. And something is more of commercial finance, which is more of front ending with the business people, right? So in obviously when you're front ending with the business people, when you're close to the market, there are a lot of challenges. And the challenges generally which are related to the business cycles that are in the market. Obviously, I could refer to one of my stints in the global US MNCs that I had been into, primarily a B2B business. Okay, it is a technology engineering company where I was the business CFO, okay, or the BU CFO as an India finance leader, leading its business unit, which primarily was into electricals manufacturing and switchgears manufacturing. Plus, they were also getting into the seasonal business of air purifiers and all that, right? So definitely, as I took over that role, okay, as a business finance leader, there were couple of challenges in terms of the way business was functional so far, right? And primarily profitability was one of the key challenges because over the period of time, especially the electrical manufacturing and distribution business, could not I would say, grow in terms of the top line. And similarly, there were challenges in terms of whatever market share they had, we were not able to profitably grow, I would say. Okay, so there were both challenges. One is the growth and the profitability. So the first task that I had as a finance leader or a business CFO was to work closely with the CEO of that business and look at the root cause of those issues. So when we dig further and down, we could realize that for profitability, there were two big challenges. One is the pricing, okay, wherein we realize since it's a B2B business, but it's also a business which is led to distribution channels. Pricing is one of the key factors which is actually impacting, and we realized that pricing is something was not properly controlled. Okay, and the second challenge was high fixed cost. And within the fixed cost, we had two things which were actually key action areas which we find out. One was about the R&D cost was quite high. And second thing was the factory utilization, which is the fixed cost of the factory, was not 100% utilized. So utilization of the factory was quite low, right? On the growth side, it was primarily the reason that we realized it's over the period of 10 years or so, there was no new product which was introduced in the market. We were just trying to sell out, okay, and best sell whatever we had so far. Because at that time, we were slightly ahead of the market when the new products were launched. But over the period, we could not launch or I would say introduce new products in the market. So that was one important challenge to increase the market share, right? So we did then, no, I had to work overall to see that how can we control pricing. So we realized that in this sector, we have products at different ranges. Okay, one is the premium products, one is the mid market, and there is the low market segment, right? We realized that then we looked at it that okay, eventually because of the market pressure, whatever we can call, okay, high discounts were offered even on the premium products. Okay, ideally premium products is something which is something we do not want to give pricing discounts. Okay, because those are supposed and meant for a different class, okay, of the customers. Okay, where it's not about money, it's more about the value that the product gives them, the experience that the product gives them. So that is the reason, okay, the pricing overall at the contribution level, we could not see that coming in. So first thing that we did is as a finance leader, we changed the no delegation of authority in terms of approving the sales orders and the pricing around that. So that's the first thing that we did. Quite challenging, a lot of pushback from the marketing team, the sales team, but we had to go through that with the support from the CEO. So that was one of the challenges, I would say. The second thing is about the fixed cost. So we had to then dig in with the factory team to look at what was in-source, what was outsourced. So we found out that a couple of products were actually outsourced. Rather, and we had internal capacity available in the factory, okay, which can be utilized. Okay, so then we had to work with the factory team and look at how we can bring those outsourced products in-house and then utilize the factory more. Okay, and then make the fixed cost more I think, revolving to ensure that we are getting more leverage from the fixed cost. So that is something which we had to do over a bit of time. And on the R&D side, we found out that we have also outsourced the R&D teams through one of our intercompanies, and they are charging us with the higher markups, right? And this team is very niche skills team. So it's not that this team was utilized as a generic team by the other intercompanies for other supports. They were dedicatedly earmarked for the electrical business because their skill sets was very niche. So we actually eventually had to work with the leadership to see that, no, why can't we bring those R&D teams 100% back to our business unit? We absorb that full cost. We place them at the factory locations to ensure they closely work with the factory guys, look at the product, and then find out, new ways of working, how we can, improve the product. Okay, how we can bring the product, make product more cost effective. So that's all things I think we had to work overall. So that's how I think those were very key challenges where we had to work not only with the CEOs and couple of departments, we had to cross-functionally rather work, okay, with all the team members, take them along, and then to ensure that all of us are working towards one single goal of ensuring that we grow profitably,
Yeah.
right? So that was a couple of important things that went. And then of course, on the product side also, we had to work with marketing team and our costing team, okay, to look at how fast we can bring in new products. So we did kind of a seed planting, which may not have helped us in the next 2, 3 years or so, but it was kind of a seed planting that we did, which eventually after 4 years or so, when we could bring the product out in the market, it was something which was, I would say, a eye catcher for good customers, right? So we had to think some actions which were short term or mid term, but also look at the long term actions. Okay, where how can we ensure that this business can grow profitably over a longer term? So that's how we did it. Okay, of course, challenges were there. And I would say the biggest challenge was to ensure and work cross functionally with different departments. Okay, where as finance, we definitely, okay, had to work with them, understand their challenges, and work closely with them to, towards one goal. I think those were the key ones, I would say.
Very well said, sir. So, your experience in managing treasury functions and financial decision making is remarkable. How did your exposure to various financial instruments help in shaping your overall financial strategy?
Yeah, sure. I would say that was really a remarkable experience. And I got that treasury experience, I would say, fortunately, when I was asked by the CFO of the earlier company to lead the shared services of that company, which is the domestic shared services. And it was a finance COE. And treasury was part of that function, right? And of course, within that, no, we were managing a couple of entities, and one of the entities was a listed company. And so treasury function was very important in that. And it was a quite big, almost 350 crores or so was the number of funds that we used to invest, right? So that's where I got exposed to work with the banking teams, external bankers, okay, and on the and on both sides of the treasury, I would say fund based okay instruments as well as non-fund based instruments. So fund based instruments generally, if you look at, we were investing primarily as any global MNC generally, if you look at, okay, they work on primarily three principles of investment. One is SLR. So S means the stability, L is liquidity, and then the last one is returns. So that's primarily is the objective, and that's how was our core driving principle in terms of managing the fund-based investments, right? So that's where I used to work. Okay, in terms of, so obviously, objective was not making returns. It was more about stability and liquidity first. So we were our investment principles and the guideline from the global US headquarters was to ensure we work only and invest only on fixed deposits. But then we had to work, and we worked with the global treasury to convince them, okay, that no, there are other avenues beyond fixed deposits or term deposits which we should explore, and that can still meet our purpose of having such stability and liquidity. So with their approval, with a lot of considerations, a lot of calls, and then discussions, we fortunately could get approval from them to invest only 25% of our cash in those other instruments. So that was one good thing which happened. So we could then diversify from 100% term deposits to 25% in liquid mutual funds. Okay, where the overall investment term wherein the end investment that happens from the funds, okay, is not more than no 60 to 180 days, right? So that's how we could diversify to some extent. Coming to the non-fund based instruments, okay, of course, we being into okay EPC business, no engineering, no procurement, and no big turnkey projects. Okay, we had to work with a lot of public sectors and maybe semi-government organizations. So of course, non-fund-based limits, of course, was extremely important for the company. So I was very closely interacting with a lot of different banks, okay, global MNC banks as well as the Indian banks to get approvals in terms of non-fund-based limits for bank guarantees, for letter of credits. Okay, then negotiating with them in terms of the terms and conditions of the bank guarantees because public sector's customers they have their very tight TNCs which you have to go through. So agreeing with them in terms of open BGs, closed-ended BGs, and stuff around that was a very good experience. Okay, but the important one I would say is working on the programs. So we had no when I was in the treasury, managing the treasury, I was also closely working with the business CEOs and the business CFOs to understand their challenges. Okay, part of it. And one of the challenges, okay, was on working capital management, which almost okay businesses were facing. So how can we as a treasury support to them? So wherein we work with the business and the banks to on couple of programs. So one was the I would say supplier financing program, wherein no we onboarded key suppliers and vendors with specific criteria. So we work with the banks to develop the program around supplier financing and then onboard the key vendors on them so that we could get better okay payment terms okay from the vendors. At the same time, the vendors could get okay financing for their business that they do with us at a very better rate. Instead of they directly going to the bank, for example, they would have got 12% or so okay as interest rate for the financing that they would have done. Since they were dealing with us as a global MNC, okay, they were getting it at much lower rate. Okay, so that was something which was a win-win for both of them. That helped. So because of it, maybe a couple of businesses could improve their okay the DPOs or the payables from 75 days to almost 90 days. So that is something which was very good. Similarly, okay, a couple of business which were through channel distributors businesses, and so where a lot of businesses were actually looking at how we can improve our receivables. Generally, if you look at many, okay, one of the business that I spoke about electrical switch gears, had a DSO of almost 120 plus days, while the market was performing at 90 days, okay, or maybe less than 90 days. So that was one big thing which was there. So we I could work with the banks, okay, to create a program, okay, which is a channel financing program, wherein the terms of onboarding the channels, okay, or the distributors was agreed. Okay, the tenure was agreed. Okay, the criteria who should come in. Okay, whether it's with records or without records was agreed. Okay, depending upon the criterias, okay, of the distributors. So that program also eventually was kick-started, and not all the distributors could be onboarded, of course, because we had set some criterias depending upon their historic performances and all that. But since the key ones could be onboarded, okay, that really helped to fast track the collection process for the company. And okay, overall, if you look at in the next 6 months or so, the DSO could be brought down from 120 days to 89 or 90 days. So that also was actually a good achievement, I would say, in terms of how treasury as a function can value add to the business.
So, designing and developing a service management framework is no easy task, especially when it comes to ensuring both service quality and continuous improvement. From your experience, what do you believe are the most important factors companies should prioritize when building such frameworks, and how do they make a real difference in day to day operations?
Yeah. So I would say service management framework is something generally, if you look at, people start relating it that to only okay, global capability centers, GCCs, or shared service centers. But the way I have looked at it, okay, since I have worked into commercial finance with the business and I'm also leading a business transformation initiative in my current organization. I've looked at it from the both sides. I somewhere, first of all, think that it's not only related to when it comes to GCCs or shared service centers. This is something which is relevant in any businesses. Okay. There could be no incidents, there could be issues. Okay, as a customer complaint could be an issue. Okay, so there has to be service management framework around, okay, all the angles. So even in normal businesses, this is something which should be definitely developed as a framework. Okay, so if you look at, it's very important from both the angles. Okay, and there are many areas, okay, where this framework gets applied. Okay, so overall in my current organization, where I'm leading the business transformation and the global shared service center, we actually developed a shared service framework for 8 areas. Okay, is one is issue management. How do we, if when issue happens, first of all, what is the definition of issue? Okay, what type of issue it could be, whether it is a, okay, IT issue, or it is a process related issue, or whether it is a people issue, could be a behavioral issue also, right? So, no, having those definitions created, okay, then in terms of severity, how severe is the issue? Okay, basis that you will have to, decide upon your actions.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how we did the definition for issue management, incident management. Okay. Then we also worked on developing the framework around productivity management. How do you want to manage your productivity? How you measure your productivity? So we worked around that. Then we looked at the next piece is improvement management, because as you grow, you also need to ensure that you keep improving. We
True.
wanted to ensure that the team has the continuous improvement mindset in place. So how do we do that? What all improvements should come in? If at all improvements are coming in, what all level of approvals and reviews it should go? Okay, and then how does that implementation happen? So all those criterias, the flow of the actions, everything was designed. So that is something which we definitely did. And then when there are many other areas which we worked upon. Okay, so overall it was 8 areas which we worked upon in the developing the service management framework. So as I told you, productivity management, and then we used to work on your SLA and KPI management. How do you measure your
Okay.
performance? Okay, when you
Oh,
work with your internal customers, okay, or even with your external customers, how do you measure your performance? And how do you do the reporting of it? So it's SLA KPI management. That's what we call it, right? Similarly, then we worked upon governance. Okay, how do you want to govern internally, as well as how do you want to have a governance model with
yeah.
your customers? Right. How
Okay.
should the review be? It should be monthly, it should be quarterly, depending on that. So that's how we developed the overall service management framework. Okay, how does the documentation get prepared? And then how do ensure that the documentation gets prepared, and then it gets saved, or put somewhere in the right frame. So in terms of document management, we also worked on creating the framework to ensure that there is consistency in terms of, okay, whoever works on preparing the documentations, okay, whether it's a process map, whether it is a standard operating procedure, or whether that's a contract that's getting signed with with the end customers. How do we ensure that that document gets properly secured, okay, in the right places? It's accessible to the right people at the right time. So a framework around that also was necessary. So it was also something which we worked upon, right?
The structure. Good structure essentially helps in a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah. And I
things.
believe it's not related the way I said. It's not
Uh,
only related to this shared service or the global capital center. It should be something which is applicable in the businesses also,
True.
right?
Larger, that's something that can become a base and should be the base.
Should be the base. Okay, how
Yeah.
do you operate yourself?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it drives.
True. So, with your extensive experience in finance, transformation, and leadership, it's clear that you had a profound impact on the organizations you work with. So, looking ahead, what are some of your future aspirations, and do you have any ambitions related to taking on boardroom roles where your expertise could further influence organizational growth and strategy?
No, definitely, as you rightly said, yeah, as anybody would have, okay, any individual would have, and you definitely everybody needs to have an aspiration. Okay, unless you have that goal, okay, then you can't go. Otherwise, you will be moving in different directions, right? As I definitely have aspiration. Of course, in the long term, I'm looking to work, okay, as a CFO or a business finance leader of a mid-sized public listed company, where I could use my expertise both in the front end and the back end accounting that I have gathered so far, and then add value to the organization. Similarly, parallelly, I would also like to look at. I don't want to wait till I know things I become retired or so. I just wanted to ensure that parallelly, okay, if I can look at no nation building, and if I can serve the nation in a different way. And one of the main important ways that I realize is, okay, as we think we have more startups coming in, more corporates coming in,
Yeah.
definitely there's a need, okay, of having good no guidance to them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then how best can we as people serve and give that guidance through our experience that we have gathered so far. Okay, so that's the reason I'm looking at also board representations over the coming areas. Okay, while I continue to work and as on the financial professional path, I also want to ensure that if I can work and serve, okay, on couple of board opportunities where I can leverage my B2C B2B experience, okay, front ending back ending accounting experience, okay, controllership experience, and share my guidance over the period with them, and and then let them grow is something
Yeah.
which I would definitely be happy to do.
Giving back to society and helping others. And
Yeah,
people
that's
like us
one way
would
of
be,
thinking about it.
that's the only way like we would grow, right? I mean, the future generation, if we get knowledge from someone who's already seen so much.
Correct, correct. And exactly, okay, when you are trying to share your knowledge, at the same time your knowledge gets enhanced, right? So that's also one important thing which I always want to look at, because I've realized over the period of time and the days that recently have come in, the power of youth, that's tremendous. And there's a lot of things that you can learn from youth,
Yeah,
right?
and I
So
think the times change so fast, the way people grasp things, and with technology changing so fast, you never know what the new generation comes up with. Like people 5 years younger to me now are coming up with things which we had unheard of. So similarly, it's all changing so
correct.
fast that if we
Yeah, so
don't
this
keep
is the best
updated,
way to know. It's a two-way thing that can happen, wherein we
true.
get to interact and network with no good youth, which is talented, which is diversified in terms of their thinking, their thought process. There's so much to learn also, and at the same time, we can share our experiences with them.
Yeah, very well said, sir. So, with your extensive experience in finance and business transformation, how do you believe integrating ESG principles has impacted financial strategies and decision making within the organizations you work with? Specifically, how do you see ESG influencing operational efficiency and profitability?
Yeah, 100%. I would say, yeah, this is the buzzword, I think, which is happening everywhere, right? And
Yeah,
then, as you said, as new things keep coming, you have to also keep abreast of them, and then keep yourself, I think, knowledgeable about how things are happening. And yes, as I think ESG is something which is, I think it's getting more and more relevant now. Right. Earlier we never used to think about it, but I think as we realized global warming, it's becoming more
yeah,
important, right? As more and more organizations are growing, especially in India, as we're having more and more billion-dollar organizations coming in. Okay, we are getting more startups, corporates coming in. I think the thing the governance corporate governance is also one of the important aspects that is important overall, because as people grow, as people invest in those companies, it's important to also have ensure the environment around governance is quite properly built in. So overall, if you look at, I think this started somewhere in December 2020 2015, wherein the Paris Agreement was signed, and then globally companies and the countries agreed to reduce the emissions or with the global warming by 1.5%. Okay, or 1.5 degrees Celsius rather, I would say, not percentage. So I think that is something, and India is of course one of the signatories to Paris Agreement, right? And if you look at, maybe India is, I think, somewhere in top five, okay, of global countries in the emission, but I think we may not be emitting that much, but at least 7% of the global emission is something which I think India was at that point of time
wow.
doing it. So I think it's extremely relevant, especially in India or maybe in any country, to know as ESG, we need to think about it, and it is going to impact businesses, okay, and corporates in all that. It's not something which is only a talking point. Even boardrooms, okay, will have to start seriously discussing about it, because this something which is maybe the SDG goals or sustainability development goals, which I think India is also agreed to. It's something which is not possible, okay, to be done only by government. It has to be done by all the stakeholders, I would say, including the boardroom members and maybe all of us overall. So if you look at, and there are different ways in which government is doing. If you look at, okay, even the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, it is something which is linked to one of the SDG goals, okay, of okay, cleanliness and sanitization. If you look at Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, okay, it is also linked to the SDG goal, okay, which is around education and maybe equality, right? We have Namami Gange, which is more about life below water. It's also linked to one of the SDG goals. If you look at whatever government has been trying in to bring in, okay, while our overall, okay, as a country we need that, but it's also linked to one of the SDG goals which India has signed. Okay, right. So overall, if you look at, it's relevant to, okay, to all of us as a community, okay, as well as the business, because wherever you go, okay, there are business opportunities everywhere. Okay, but as you rightly asked, okay, how is it going to impact the business? Okay, maybe one thing comes to my mind is, maybe if you look at, okay, somewhere I'd read that even BlackRock, one of the private equity, okay, investors, okay, their CEO, Larry Pink, I think, if I'm not even catching the word name right, he had actually very well, I think, worded the importance of ESG in the coming days. Where he said, going forward, corporates will have to start, maybe even the investors will start thinking about durable long-term returns rather than short-term returns. And while how does that durable long-term return comes will be important. So investors will also start looking at how is those returns coming in, how are companies making profit, what are their products doing, how relevant are they in terms of the ESG framework will be the key aspects, right? So in terms of transparency of the way company operates, where your corporate governance comes into place, will be important. Okay, your net zero targets in terms of carbon emissions will be important to be looked at. So if you look at all these, different, okay, targets which are there, and maybe the ESG deliverables which are there, will be important decision makers, okay, from these big investors, private equity funds, venture capitalists, or even maybe bankers. Okay, so if you look at these the actions that companies are going to take around to, see what kind of products they are bringing into the market. Okay, are they, okay, ESG compliant? Okay, how are they operating as, okay, as a corporate organization in terms of, ensuring that to become more transparent? How are they disclosing their financials? How are they disclosing their, okay, plans to the stakeholders? Okay, whether it's shareholders, whether it's creators, or whether it's their customers. All this will be important decision makers, okay, which will influence your financing decisions, right? Okay, so the companies who are more compliant to ESGs in the future or in the long run would be eligible, or would be the one who would get the best financing, okay, I would say charges. Okay, so in terms of, for example, if you want to borrow and from the market tomorrow, the company is more ESG compliant, his likelihood is that, no, they would get the best interest rate charged. So this is the way, one of the way which I can see where ESG is becoming more relevant, and no, and it's important to businesses as well.
Sir, you recently joined Directors Institute and we're excited to hear about your journey so far. Like, as someone just beginning this experience, what has stood out to you the most about the institute and how do you see it adding value to your career moving forward?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would say one immediate thing that comes to my mind is it's fascinating. Fascinating in the sense that, no, it's more fascinating to me because the objective with which, DI or Director Institute is working in terms of helping the nation build the right skill sets. Okay, it was very fascinating to me. And by the way, it is also linking to one of the SDG goals of ESG, wherein, no, you are doing the skill development. Okay, so I think, quality, bringing quality work is also important, right? So that is something which is very fascinating to me. In terms of the experience so far, I would say the training modules are really good. The user experience that they have, the navigations, and the way it is, the ease of go navigating through those modules, I would say is really, really good. So the experience so far has been very nice with me. Okay, and then I'm planning to leverage overall this opportunity, to, build my network. Okay, no, work on personal brand building, right? So those are the some of the key areas that I'm trying to build in, and then leverage those, okay, areas to see that how I can in future get opportunities to represent myself, okay, in the board room going forward.
Thank you for those kind words, sir, and for most importantly joining us today and sharing your incredible insights with our listeners. Your journey through business transformation, financial strategy, and leadership has been truly inspiring. The lessons you've imparted from overcoming challenges in shared services to embracing ESG principles in financial decision making offer invaluable takeaways for us. As you continue to evolve in your career and boardroom aspirations, we look forward to seeing how your leadership and expertise will shape the future of organizations. Thank you so much once again for joining us today, and I'm sure it's been an enlightening episode for all our viewers.
Definitely, definitely. Thanks, Tanay, for all your kind words and no, also no asking me a couple of tricky questions, but definitely okay. Fortunately, I hope I could do justice to the questions that you asked for. Okay, and thanks for giving me opportunity to share my thoughts on a couple of key challenges. Okay, ESG is one of very close to my heart, of course, as you said, because no company or no organization can do without that. So thanks for this opportunity and look forward no to keep in touch with you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Tanay.
Stay connected for more conversations with industry visionaries who are making an impact. Until next time, keep striving, keep leading, keep transforming, and have fun in your journey. Thank you so much.